Yeah, this is Radio TV Phono Nut, and it got up to about 70 degrees today. And tomorrow they're telling us we'll be lucky if it gets out of the 30s. So I'm going to try to put in a little time out here today because probably won't be coming out here for the rest of the week if the weatherman is correct. What we have here is another resurrection. I know some of you like seeing the resurrection videos. Had to make a little Walmart run yesterday, and one of the flea market vendors that I deal with just happened to be leaving and saw me. And he happened to have this beat-to-heck Symphonic record player in the truck. I bought it from him. I don't know why. Well, I figured on using it for spare parts, but I said, what the heck, we'll try to resurrect it, and maybe somebody will want it. When I got it home and looked at it, I discovered that someone had replaced the original tone arm with this cheapo aftermarket thing. This was one of the last they made when you could still buy the separate tone arms, and it would play a record, but it would skip and jump like crazy because this arm is so cheap and flimsy. It might be okay for spoken word kiddie records, but not for music records. So I dug around in my junk pile and I found this cheapo static tone arm, and this is the type that had a cartridge that's held on with one screw on the front of the arm, single-sided, 3-volt crystal cartridge. Of course, it was dead. So I dug around in my junk and found a Crosley cartridge and did what you're not supposed to do and crudely soldered the wires directly onto the terminals. Got it to play. It's not as loud as what it once was, but it's loud enough to hear. I got to do a little minor work to the drive mechanism. I just dribbled a little oil on the center spindle bearing. I'm going to do the same thing to the motor. It takes it a few seconds to come up to speed, so I know it's gunked up. I'm not gonna do a full rebuild on this. As you can see, it's in sad shape. The handle is gone. We have pieces of case covering missing. I think there was a piece of silver trim that overlapped here on the front, and you can see it's gone. Let's look around at the back here. You can see more case covering gone. And if we lift it up, we see that the supporting blocks that the motor board screws to need to be glued back down. Now I'll show you the interesting thing about this. Here's the schematic, just a 2-transistor amplifier. And it's kind of strange how they're powering this. Most of these types had a separate winding on the motor coil to provide a low voltage to the amp. Well, not this one. They're using the motor and a resistor. That power resistor you see right there, it's a 3-watt resistor. They're using those two devices for a voltage divider, as you can see on the schematic, to provide, and I can't read what it says on the schematic. I'd have to go enlarge the picture that I made of it and look at it, but I think it said 21 volts AC there, feeding a selenium bridge rectifier. And for what it is, it sounds pretty good. There's the amplifier. I've got a Radio Shack automatic record player from about the same time period as this one, 66, 67, somewhere along in there. And it uses the exact same amplifier and speaker as this does. The tone arm, I didn't have enough wire on it to reach over to my terminal strip, so I just crudely soldered some wire to it and taped it up, and there it is. Now, before I get any snide comments about this is not my usual standard of repair work, no, it's not my usual standard of repair work. And unless you're going to pay me a couple of $100 for this thing, at least that much, to recover the case and put a new handle on it and come up with a proper tone arm and cartridge that's getting hard to find, In fact, I was just looking on eBay for a turnover 3-volt crystal cartridge, $56, $58, $75, and I go to start using foul language that I shouldn't be using because that kind of crap just burns me up. These greedy people on eBay charging way more than the things are worth. In fact, the record players that they're going in are usually not even worth what they want for the cartridge, so that's why we have to come up with other measures to make these things play, because I wouldn't spend $75 or $50 on a cartridge for this if it was in mint cosmetic condition. Alright, I'm going to dribble a little oil on the top and bottom motor bushings, and then we're putting it back together. Not going all out on this thing. Alright, let's see. Alright, now this platter used to have one of those awful foam rubber mats on it that disintegrates, and no, I'm not gonna put anything on there. It's a plastic platter, and I'm not really studying it. You want to put something on there, knock yourself out, but I don't think anybody's going to be playing their precious vinyl on this, so as long as it'll play a record, that's what we care about. If you want a proper 78 needle for this cartridge, they're available, but here again, we're not doing just as little of this as we have to. And I don't have a 16 record down here, but as you can tell, it's rotating on 16 RPM. And one last thing, I'm going to clean the shaft, the wheel, and the turntable platter with alcohol, try to get some of the dirt off of it and give it a little bit better grip. Alright, there it is. Back together as good as it's going to be put back together, and if you want to be creative and try to do something with the cabinet, then go for it. If you need it for parts to fix yours, then here it is. But one thing that amazes me, and it shouldn't amaze me because I know how much better this old stuff was built. This thing's 50-some odd years old, been to heck and back, and still works. Didn't need much effort to get it working. You think a modern Crosley will be able to do this in 50 years? I seriously doubt it. If you want this, there's a link in the description where you can buy it.